Hi, this is Sage again with Learning with Sage. In this video, we're going to learn how to use the annual budget spreadsheet to track your total annual income and expenditures. In the two previous videos in this series, we looked at tracking your monthly budget and setting up your categories for inputting your monthly expenses. If you haven't already watched those videos, I recommend you do so. We'll be using our monthly budget for our data to input into this annual budget spreadsheet. And the categories we set up for our income and expenses in our monthly budget spreadsheet should make this process quite easy. I recommend doing this once a month. I usually do it at the beginning of the month for the previous month, moving our income and expenses from our monthly spreadsheet to our annual spreadsheet. And the only other tool you need besides these templates is a calculator. So here's what the annual spreadsheet looks like. This is just a template, of course. I've created it for you for sale. You may purchase it for $15 on my website. That includes a bunch of categories already included here. It also does a lot of auto calculating for you, which takes a few hours to set it up. So it is worth the investment if you're busy and you don't want to create it yourself. I've linked to where you can purchase the spreadsheet below the video. Now, when using this spreadsheet for the first time, you'll want to create a new sheet and title it the year that you'll be entering the data. Generally speaking, when you start using this for the first time, it's not going to be the 1st of January. So, for example, I can right-click. Let me back up for a second. You see I have a sheet down here called Monthly Budget Template. So that's this whole thing. It's just a template of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click that sheet and I'm going to duplicate it. Select the duplicated sheet. Rename it, for example, 2018, 2019. And then I'm going to use that 2018-2019 sheet to input all my income and expenses. And you'll always have this monthly budget template, which is the exact same thing except empty, and you can just duplicate it every time you want to input a new year worth of income and expenses. So let's go back to the 2018-2019 that we just created. Now, first thing we want to do is, once you have this template, you want to make sure it has all of the categories that apply for you that you've already set up in the previous video. So we can scan through this and just make sure home expenses, make sure all those apply to you, transportation, health, and so forth. You can go to your personal monthly budget spreadsheet we set up, look at your categories sheet, and just make sure all the expense categories you created in there are listed in your annual budget spreadsheet. We'll assume they are for the purposes of this video, but you're going to want to do that for your own needs. All right. Next, we're going to estimate how much we'll make for the year for each income source that we have and how much we'll spend for each expense by inputting numbers into the projected column for every item. The projected column is very valuable for planning, for seeing how well you know your expenses and income, and for creating charts and graphs, and for projecting your savings. So I'm going to go ahead, let's just say we make $48,000 a year, roughly speaking. We'll say that's exactly how much we make, so we'll put it in the projected. And then any other income sources you might have, maybe you make $500 in dividends, bank dividends, so you put that in here as well. And you'll see over here that the projected income is $48,500, and the difference is showing what's different between what's projected and how much you actually made. Okay. Oops, I see there's a spare character. There we go. Delete that. Okay. So we estimated our income. Now we're going to want to estimate our expenses. So let's say, for example, we spend $1,500 a month on mortgage. 1,500 times 12 is 18,000. So we'll put that in for projected. That's a pretty easy one to project. Certain ones are more difficult, like electricity might vary. So for certain ones of these, you may just want to guess if it's, if it's fairly, if your electricity is between 95 and 105 every month, you could probably just put in 100 and multiply it times 12 and just choose 1200. If it fluctuates a lot more between the winter months and the summer months, you may want to calculate your previous year's monthly bills for your electricity and come out with a closer approximation estimate for that field. So, for example, you just go through all of these expenses and input what you believe your projected income will be. Now, I'm not going to go through and fill all of these out for this video because that would be tedious, but you can assume that we'll have projected, at least probably 4,000 for groceries, and all of these others will have lots of other numbers in them as well. 200 for dry cleaning, etc. So you fill all that out, and when you're done, you should see that your projected up here under monthly budget is going to be hopefully positive, above zero. Right now it's $25,000 above zero, which would be great. And then you can assume that that is going to be savings for you. So you want to make sure you track everything on here. Otherwise, this won't be a very good gauge of your savings. Okay. So we filled out all of our estimated expenses. And then once we're done with that, all we have to do every month is, when we're done with the month, we go to our personal monthly budget and we take our expenses and income and we just take these numbers and we input them into our annual budget. So, for example, if we made 2013, we got 2 paychecks this month, so 2013 plus 2013. So the actual for that month would be 4,026, and you would just add in however much you made for wages and tips to whatever you had here previously. So next month, if you make 4,026 again, you would add it to this, and you would have 8,052. And so on. So that's 2 months worth of income there. So you just keep adding these income and expenses in your actual column, and these totals over here on the right will update for you. It's pretty straightforward. This process isn't very complicated. I spend about maybe an hour in here every month just inputting my personal expenses into my annual budget. And the great thing about this process is you really get to see a more macro picture of your income and expenses and how your overall savings plan is looking. In the next video, we're going to look at setting up charts and graphs for these, and that'll be a really dynamic, exciting thing. So please join me for that. If you like this video, please click like and feel free to comment below. If you're looking for life coaching on how to manage your finances, feel free to contact me at learningwithsage.com, and you can send me an email through my website. I talk to people all over the world through Skype, Google Hangouts, phone, or even in person if you live in the Hudson Valley. The initial consultation is free, and that's a good way for us to determine if I'll be able to help you and meet your needs and if we connect. Hope you have a wonderful day.